Trust you're having a good Sunday afternoon on this fourth day of December. You're watching The Weekend at 1. We have this afternoon. William Sila. Let's begin with the highlights. Looming crisis as health workers prepare to down their tools from tomorrow. In Bomet County as 3 political outfits lead parallel rallies. The United Nations sounds a genocide alert in South Sudan. Governors is calling an urgent sitting tomorrow in the wake of the planned strike by health workers, also scheduled to begin tomorrow morning. The chairman of the Governor's Human Resources Committee, James Ngele, says the meeting will also be attended by representatives from the Ministry of Health as well as the Salaries Review Commission. Also invited for the meeting are members of health workers' unions, county secretaries of health and chairpersons of county public service boards. Ngele, who is also Kisii governor, urged all county governments to direct their officials to familiarize themselves with the collective bargaining agreements for nurses and doctors. The health workers announced that they will begin a nationwide strike tomorrow unless the government raises their salaries, as well as addressing other issues raised on deployment of health workers. The South Rift region is set for a political Super Sunday in Kericho and Bomet counties as they hosted 3 mega rallies involving 3 political outfits. CORD leader Raila Odinga is in Kericho town. Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto and National Assembly Deputy Speaker Joyce Laboso will be leading parallel rallies in Bomet County. Let's now bring in our political reporter Jeff Kirui, who is on this beat today. Jeff, good afternoon to you. 3 parallel separate political rallies. What is the atmosphere in the South Rift region this afternoon?
Well, a very good afternoon, Michelle. We are at Bomet County, where Dr. Joyce Laboso is holding a rally here at Bomet, where he is expected to launch the Jubilee Party South Rift in the South Rift region. And remember, 50 kilometers from here, Governor Isaac Ruto as well is holding another parallel rally at a place known as Ndanai. This rally, the Jubilee Party launch, comes barely 2 weeks after Governor Isaac Ruto homecoming, a few meters away from where we are, Michelle. And as of now, we are still expecting leaders. I've been told that more than 40 members of parliament are expected to grace this event. And there are also several governors expected here as well. And what I've also gathered is that Cabinet Secretary Charles Keter, Energy Cabinet Secretary, is also expected to be here. Remember, Joyce Laboso has 2 fights or 2 battles to contend with, and in fact, Michelle, he has to go for the nomination ticket with Dr. Julius Konez. Thereafter, he now has to battle out with Governor Isaac Ruto. So from here in Bomet, Michelle, this is going to be a very huge political notion coming from the 2 sides. Remember, Isaac Ruto is also holding his rally, and he wants to take over the leadership, the mantle from Deputy President William Ruto. He wants to be the political kingpin in this region, South Rift region. A few kilometers away from here as well, CORD leader Raila Odinga is also holding a meeting. Remember, yesterday he had a meeting with Governor Isaac Ruto, and there have been word in the streets that the CORD leader Raila Odinga is trying to woo leaders from the South Rift to appear to be opposing Deputy President William Ruto to form a coalition to make sure that they flow the Jubilee coalition. And we will be expecting fireworks from here. And also later on, we will be coming to you live as well from Ndanae, where Governor Isaac Ruto is holding his rally. Michelle.
All right, and before I let you go, Jeff, these 3 rallies come just 2 days after businessmen in the country said early campaigns would hurt the country's economy. What do the residents of the South Rift region have to say about these campaigns, these rallies rather?
Well, Michelle, for the residents around here, I think the political mood has already been set. Remember, the South Rift region will be the major decider when it comes to the politics in the region, and whoever actually will be able to clinch the voters or to convince the voters to vote will actually be a swing factor when it comes to the next general election in terms of 2017. If the voters in this region will be leaning towards the opposition coalition, that is another factor. But if they remain in the ruling coalition Jubilee Party, well then, Michelle, it's something that we wait to see. Now that there have been factions which are pulling out from the government side or the Jubilee coalition. Remember, the leaders from this region, especially some leaders, have appeared to be backing Governor Isaac Ruto. There is also Kuresoi South Member of Parliament Zakayo Cheruiyot, who appear to be switching camps now with Isaac Ruto. Alfred Ketera, Nandi Hills Member of Parliament, has also appeared to be leaning towards Governor Isaac Ruto's side. So there are some members of Parliament who are now switching sides. And what awaits to be seen, Michelle, is where at the end of it all, where the leaders from this region will lay their allegiance to. Michelle.
All right, many thanks, Jeff Kirui there, coming to us from the South Rift region, where Kericho and Bomet counties are holding 3 mega parallel rallies by 3 political outfits. We'll bring you more live proceedings of those rallies in our subsequent bulletins. The pastoral communities from 3 counties have formed a political bloc that is aimed at uniting them ahead of the 2017 general election. The group, dubbed TEAM, brings together communities from Tana River, Isiolo and Marsabit counties. It is intended to solidify the political base to create a bargaining power.
Ili wapate suluhu ya matatizo ya uchumi inayowakumba. Na sisi kama viongozi ya siasa tumeamua gatuzi ya Tana River, gatuzi ya Isiolo na Marsabit tuweze kushirikiana kwa manufaa na maendeleo ya jamii na nchi yetu.
Imefika wakati sasa pia sisi tuko na serikali zetu za ugatuzi. Ni muhimu tuhakikishe katika hizi serikali tunaweka viongozi ambao wanaweza kujali na kuweza kuwa na ile maono ya kusaidia jamii.
Tukiwa na kaunti 3 na zote tukiwa kwa Jubilee, ni rahisi sisi tuende kwa serikali na tuwaambie haya ndio matakwa yetu.
In the realization of the adage that unity is strength, 5 groups of traders who operate from Nyeri town have decided to pull together as to empower themselves economically. The traders, ranging from food vendors to shoes and clothes sellers and businessmen and women who sell other merchandise and wares within Nyeri town, as well as service providers, are now looking into ways of pulling their resources together. This is with the aim of starting investment plans such as formation of SACCOs and other forms of financial security. The traders met at the Nyamachaki Hall for a fundraiser with the assistance of businessman and financial advisor Patrick Ngatia.
Tumeungana pamoja ndiposa tuwe na harambee ambao imefani, ambao tunatarajia kwamba matokeo itatufanya zile agenda ambao tuko nazo katika vikundi zetu itakuwa ya kutimika.
Mashida ni mengi yale tunapitia, kama kukosa capital ya watu wetu kwa businesses.
Na kwa challenges ambazo tunapata ni kama sasa tukipata accident Access medical treatment inakuwa gumu, tunafanya harambee.
These are 5 groups of small traders from Nyeri town and also border riders. They have organized themselves. They have registered groups. They have started savings, and they are now starting projects beyond what they do. Those who ride motorbikes, they want to start other projects like outside catering, sound equipment hiring, buying land away from the motorbikes, away from the market. They want to start extra investments. This is something which was previously not happening because they were disorganized, they were infested by criminal elements, and they were not together. So they couldn't achieve much. So they have already registered themselves, organized themselves. They have even bought uniforms for identification. They are reducing the levels of insecurity amongst themselves. And now they are, as leaders, we must come in and help them so that they don't fall back to the old disorganization where they were very vulnerable to bad elements which want to use them, especially the motorbike riders. Yeah.
You're watching The Weekend at 1. We take a short break now. When we come back, details of the genocide alert in South Sudan. Welcome back. You are watching The Weekend at 1. The UN Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan is warning that the world's youngest country is on the brink of a catastrophe. The 3-member commission was issuing a statement at the end of a 10-day visit in South Sudan. The chairperson of the commission, Yasmin Suka, cited disturbing indicators such as an increase in hate speech, a crackdown on the media and civil society, and deepening divisions between the country's 64 tribes. Other factors are renewed recruitment in a country already awash with guns and the proliferation of armed groups aligned to both sides engaging in armed conflict. The Commission says the stage is being set for a repeat of what happened in Rwanda, noting that the international community is under an obligation to prevent it. Now, a Gambian musician rejoices for a new president in the new Gambia after a shock opposition victory in presidential polls ended the 22-year rule of Yaya Jammeh.
Gambia, 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 new president. Gambia, Gambia, new Gambia. I name it after New Gambia now. Gambia, Gambia, New Gambia. Gambia, 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 Gambia. Wonderful country.
Relatives and friends of Oakland fire victims gathered at the Chapel of Chimes after a blaze that killed dozens attending a party in California. Alameda County Sheriff's Office spokesman Ray Kelly said it could take at least 48 hours to tally the number of casualties because of the continuing danger posed to firefighters by the unstable and charred remains of the structure. The fire, which is the worst in Oakland in years, broke out during an electronic music party at the warehouse. The warehouse had illegally been turned into a studio and living space for artists. The Oakland Fire Department is bringing in tractors, bulldozers, trucks and a crane to get into the ruined building in search for bodies of the dead. Thousands of Cubans paid tribute to Fidel Castro during an overnight vigil at the Revolution Plaza of Santiago de Cuba, the cradle of Fidel's guerrilla struggle. The convoy carrying the ashes of Cuba's late communist leader Fidel Castro has capped an island-wide journey, reaching the cradle of his revolution for a final rally before the burial. The ashes were paraded across the eastern city, stopping in front of a balcony where Castro gave a speech following his revolution's triumph in 1959. Like other crowds along the 4-day, 900-kilometer trip from Havana, this one chanted, "I am Fidel," after a series of Castro speeches played on a giant screen. Meanwhile, dissidents have kept a low profile during the commemorations, calling off regular protests, although they plan to resume the demonstrations after Castro's burial.
Fidel Castro, en lo que Raúl nos está diciendo.
Welcomed with open arms, some even received calls from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau himself. The Syrian refugees who arrived in Canada a year ago are now facing their share of difficulties. Among them, 50-year-old Fahid Fatou came with his wife and their 2 children after they fled the war-battered city of Aleppo via Beirut in 2012.
Fahid Fatou arrived in Canada with his family at the end of 2015 after fleeing war-torn Syria. Justin Trudeau's new Liberal government has resettled more than 35,000 Syrian refugees, but financial support from private sponsors and the government will soon end, just 1 year after their arrival. Fahid doesn't have a job in Canada. He used to be a doctor in Aleppo, but here in Quebec, it isn't likely he will ever be able to practice.
There are too many problems for me to get the equivalent degree and work as a physician.
Fahid is not the only refugee who has to start all over again. NGOs are limited in their ability to help because the government is very strict about the recognition of equivalence of degrees obtained in other countries.
Among the refugees, there is still a lot of professionals. These people have to give up the possibility of ever finding a job at the level they had back in Syria before the civil war.
Refugees are offered free French lessons in certified schools. Fahid and his wife Julie both struggle with the language. Their children are already fluent and attend public school in French. Officials say this is common.
Between a quarter and a third of Syrian refugees are children. I meet these children and they already speak the language very well. So this is the future. For the others, we're constantly helping them.
But despite the difficulties, Fahid is confident he made the right choice for his kids.
It's life for the kids. Canada, it's the country of freedom, of peace, of the future. It's like winning the lottery.
Even though Fahid's wife Julie hasn't worked for more than a decade, she plans to train to work in a kindergarten. For now, she's caring for her sick mother, who is also able to come to Canada. Fahid plans to become a hospital technician. There are many challenges ahead for the Fatou family, but Fahid is putting his hope in the future of his children.
And that story brings us to a close here on The Weekend at 1. My name is Michelle Ngele. Our sign language interpreter is William Sila. On behalf of the entire team, do have a good afternoon.